Right. So 16th of September and the Wednesday Night Wars are back. I don't know for how long. But the worlds collide. Ah!
Listen, I hope that they continue doing, competing with each other on Wednesdays. I don't like the idea. Yeah, I think it's more fun. I think
it's fun. It's fun, but I think I think they lose so many fans. 250,000 fans if you go on the same night. Well, that's a lot of fans.
You know what? With all due respect to both programs, step up your game. There are tens of millions of wrestling fans available. If you have to fight for 1.5 million combined.
Well, I think no. I think they probably have the same amount. There's enough fans, and you see, they probably have. Realistically, if you take cable and you take YouTube and you take any other way of watching it, they probably each have 1.5 million people who pay attention or who watch clips and know what's going on, read about it, whatever it is. Probably close to 2 million.
Here's where the problem lies. If you only have, let's just say, AEW's averaging somewhere 800, 900,000 right now over the last few weeks, NXT around 700 plus. If that's what you're garnering for people who watch your show, again, looking at clips and all of that, it's a good Cliff Notes thing for people to kind of be aware of what's going on. But realistically, you want people to watch the show.
No, but even the people who watch it by other means, like whether on apps or whatever. There's a lot of different ways to watch the shows for people who don't have cable. No. You're not going to get those numbers because there's just so many people now that are cord cutters.
Well, all I know is that there has to be a way for that to be calculated into the overall number, because it makes it look a lot smaller than what it actually is.
It's bigger. It's bigger. There's a lot of wrestling fans who just watch and the numbers are just not there. Or you can tell by Google Trends, like Slammiversary. You would think it was 2,000 people watching, probably based on whatever people say, but they're breaking the entire internet, and it's like, well, they're in. Everyone's talking about it like if it's a WrestleMania. I'm exaggerating, but
yes, you are. I'm glad you said that.
No, but this year, Slammiversary was talked about. It was comparable to like a SummerSlam on Twitter, on Instagram.
That's great.
But the numbers don't reflect that. But how did all these people watch? How did they all know?
Simple. It's called Impact Wrestling putting all their jazz on social media, just like everybody else does. It's the right thing to do.
No. People were talking about Slammiversary live, and Slammiversary was breaking the internet live. And I bet they're going to say, well, they're probably not going to tell you how many people, but I bet you it wasn't that many people who ordered it, but yet everyone knows about it. Everyone saw it. So it's like, okay, there's a lot of wrestling fans who watch wrestling through interesting methods and interesting ways.
It's called illegal streaming. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah. But either way, we know wrestling is hotter than the numbers say. And there's a lot of people who know what's going on. A lot of wrestling fans out there watching.
Well, let's just put it like this. I think it's probably a small, the very small group of the most avid wrestling fans that just consume everything, and thank God for them. They're the truest fans out there. It's all a matter, like, I can see that individual events can do really well, and that's great, no matter the promotion. It's all a matter of what happens in the aftermath of it. And if it gets better, and I'm not talking about necessarily numbers, it's a matter of, does the programming get better? Is there more progression, in a longer term scale? Because, you can always get short-term returns, but it's a matter of the long term. The next time Impact does a pay-per-view, the next time, AEW does a pay-per-view or Ring of Honor. The only reason why I say that is because, again, once WWE got out of the pay-per-view business, it essentially got very much devalued. And devalued meaning is not that people stop buying pay-per-view. It's just a matter that it's no longer being looked at as a viable as the most viable option. Now it's more of a streaming world, and for a lot of these other promotions that don't have the access to the WWE network, where everybody can just click on a button and watch all the pay-per-view matches, it's a little different for them, and it's a matter of trying to figure out a way to be able to garner an audience large enough to be able to scale it and make money long term. It's not a matter of the short-term return, but we'll see what's up. Give it time. This is a marathon. It's certainly not a sprint.
All right, so let's start with the main event of AEW, which is probably, for me, was like the most newsworthy thing for me. So yeah, we have the Best Friends, Trent and Chucky T, going up against Santana and Ortiz, Pride and Powerful. And this was a parking lot fight.
It was. It certainly was. It certainly was a fight. That's for sure.
Yeah, you can tell these guys were like, look, if we're going to have a parking lot fight, we're going to have to go out there and have a parking lot fight. This was not necessarily, a lot of setting up of funny, spots and all that good stuff, all that jazz and jumping off of something super high, or this was taped fists and, bloodying each other up, hitting each other as hard as they can, throwing each other against cars and,
I mean, this was, I'm kind of torn with this particular, but I'm not even going to, it's not a match. It's certainly not a wrestling match. It's a fight. Okay. Hold on.
Yeah, definitely a fight.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a fight. It was done very well. One of the things about it with this particular contest or a fight is that I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it, and all four guys worked hard. I mean, I didn't like the ending. I understood why they incorporated Orange Cassidy into it, because obviously what LAX did to him the week before. I didn't enjoy it because I think that it actually, the ending didn't do any favors, because of course Santana and Ortiz are part of the inner circle. So there's no Guevara, no Jericho, no Hager. If you're going to get Orange Cassidy incorporated into this match, you'd figure that the heels would try to cheat first. But it is what it is, right? No big stink. Because Orange Cassidy just hit the one punch with the chain, and of course all four guys were already pretty beat up. So if anybody jumped in, it was going to be the end. The fact that Orange Cassidy came out of the trunk of one of the cars, that was just stupid. Come on, there's no other way to say that. That was stupid. Orange Cassidy could have come out through the crowd. It would have been better for him to come out through the crowd, because he could have just walked in on the fight. All four guys, I mean, listen, I was torn by it, because I think that this particular story or rivalry series of matches that they've had, for the most part, have been eye rollers and who cares type things until they got to this. This was actually good. The problem is that it had to be a huge gimmick for these four guys, working together to look good. Santana and Ortiz, obviously, I wrote in my notes that they came out, with face paint. They looked like Buddha, even though I know it was meant to be
the dead presidents.
Dead presidents.
Yeah.
It was a reference to that, but I was like, they look like the Great Muda. The fact that these guys, there's just so many things. I mean, let's put it like this, because I don't want to, I don't want to really like jump down on all four of these guys. This fight was good for what it was meant to be. However, at the end, nobody gets over. Unfortunately, this is why. The Best Friends went over. With Orange Cassidy, notwithstanding the fact that Orange Cassidy came out of the hood of the car, that was already stupid enough. How they won the match, how they won the fight was stupid enough. But then the fact that they're all bloodied up, they got, and Trent Beretta, he has a black eye. His back is all bloodied up after taking that sick looking power bomb on the windshield. Like that was a spot that I was like, damn, like that looked like it hurt. And I'm sure it did. The fact that they got into their mother's minivan, and the last thing you see is the mother literally flipping the bird and then having all the commentators laughing and chucking it up. It made it look like a comedy match, and it completely, at least to me, it completely ruined what could have been an excellent way to have all four of these guys have a really good-looking street fight match that can get all four guys over, because knowing that this is going to be the blow-off, you could have separated these four guys from each other, moved them on to other things, and that could be used as a reference point to hopefully begin to present these guys slightly more seriously. They had to go to the comedy. They had to do that stupid thing at the end with the mother and completely ruined it. So Santana and Ortiz, obviously they're the guys who lost, and no matter what their effort was, they lost. So they're looked at, you're always going to be looked at slightly secondary in that situation. With the best friends, they could have looked like, these two guys might look like, clown comedy guys on the surface, but they're really tough guys, when you really dig deep. And that was ruined by having the mother in the minivan flipping the bird and driving away, and the commentators just, belly laughing at the end of the show. Just, good fight, but ruined by the comedy at the end that was unnecessary. Because guess what? Trent Beretta's mother's not going to be wrestling any matches on AEW. And Santana and Ortiz are not going to get any response to her. So unnecessary.
I mean,
totally unnecessary.
I think the opposite. I mean, I think all four guys got over. I think Santana and Ortiz did their job as heels. I know it's hard it's hard in modern wrestling to use the heels as heels, but in the story, the bad guys lose at the end, and that's the way wrestling always was. So that's what this story was long term. I think they could have had better matches earlier on, but they were building to this match. The whole story was, Chucky T and Trent are clowns. We're gonna treat them like clowns. We're gonna bully them. We're gonna keep taking advantage of them. We're gonna get their mom involved and shit on her too while we're at it. This whole thing was building and building and building to this moment where Chucky T and Trent had enough. Meet us in the fucking parking lot. Enough is enough. Like the jokes are over, and they built to the match, and they told the story that the joke was over. Obviously, there was a funny moment at the end because to me, it reminded me of Get Out. Did you get to see Get Out? At the end, the whole last 30 minutes of the movie are super serious, and when he's trying to get out, he's trying to escape basically, and then you have the ending, where he finally gets away and he pretty much has to kill everybody to get out, and then you think the cop car is coming, and where everybody in the theater is like, oh no, because we already know he's the one that's gonna get in trouble. No one's ever gonna believe him. The black guy's going to jail like always on some bullshit. But it's I forgot the character's name in the movie, but I think he's played by Lil Rel Howard or whatever. And he comes out and he kind of saves the day, and he's like, TS motherfucking A. So it was like the relief. Everything was so serious. Now it's over, and now we can all like enjoy ourselves. Everything is fine. We can go back to our normal lives. That's kind of what I took it as.
I listen. That's understood. The difference about it is that within the movie, and your reference to the movie Get Out, that's a standalone. That's kind of a standalone piece of art, right? Mm-hmm. When you take a look at professional wrestling, you can't say this is the ending of this story and then we're going to basically reset these people all over again. It's not the way that it works. You can do slight resets, but the thing is that these guys are on television every week. So there has to be a way to retain their heat. Like Santana and Ortiz, you're right. They're the heels. They've been bullying, Chuck and Trent. They were just bullying them for forever, for several months. So yeah, they got their comeuppance at the end. All right, Chuck and Trent won this match. It's a matter that this could have been a springboard to do something with Chuck and Trent that's a little less goofy. And the fact that it was the mother that essentially got the last word in at the end, that's the reason why I don't like it. Because it's one of those things where that can be used as a springboard. If they would have driven off in the truck, you know, in the minivan, and they would have just driven off, no middle finger from the mother, none of that jazz. If it would have been Chuck and Trent who did it, bravo, right thing to do. The fact that it was the mother that got the last word, and the announcers are belly laughing at the end of that, that would have been.
Well,
that's the problem that I have, is that next time I see Chuck and Trent, I'm not going to look at them as guys who might be goofy on the surface, but if you pull them hard enough, they can turn badass on you. It's like they had that one fight that was excellent for what it was, but then it's like they're going right back to, okay, this is who they are. We're going to go right back to the comedy stuff, and it's like, no, this could have been an opportunity to do something else. Take a shift, shift a gear with those two guys. I didn't like that. I just didn't like it at all.
Okay. I mean, I think it's served its purpose. I think Trent, even with the last minute middle finger, I don't think that takes anything away from what they accomplished. I think the goal was accomplished. They fought. They showed that side that we didn't know they had. So it's a layer. It's an extra layer. The foundation, I don't like when characters drastically change and go, okay, now I'm I was a comedian last week, now I'm serious. No, and I'm changing my character now.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's more a matter that when they're in a fight, whatever this lasted on TV, 15, 20 minutes, there's a certain tone to this that probably shouldn't have been belly laughing at the end. Even if let's just say that you still want to do the whole thing with the mother flipping them at the end, the fact that the announcer's belly aching, belly laughing, like there are certain things that you probably shouldn't do. The announcer should be the straight guys, and they just blew up laughing. It's like these are all these little minor things that probably shouldn't occur, and it did in this instance. And I think that it actually that last minute of the show may have done more to ruin what I thought was a very fun fight. I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it. I wish that these four guys would have had better matches prior to this fight. That would have made me care, because when I saw it, when it was announced, all I kept thinking to myself is, when will this end? But this was fun. And I thought it was the best that these four guys have looked together. Of course, it had to be a gimmick match, this fight, and it did wonders. We know the Santana and Ortiz, that's what they purport themselves to be, even though they've done comedy stuff, particularly Ortiz more than Santana. But the best friends have always been looked at as comedy clowns. So the fact that they were able to do this and come across looking tough at the end, excellent, bravo. But they kind of took a step back into the comedy spot. Listen, I can say that I hated that. Let's see what they do with them moving forward. I'm not saying that they got to turn into like Stone Cold Steve Austin next week, because that would be absurd too. But it's a matter of, let's see more of that tough side. Like, let's peel some layers and see that whole goofy facade. We can start peeling that off little by little, and showing some more toughness. That's all. They did a good job here. I thought that they reverted back in the end, but I'll be fair. Let's give them some time moving forward. Let's see what's up then.
All right, so there was a bunch of like little promos and promo packages and little things on NXT. One that stood out to me was Finn Balor's promo, nice black and white. I'm not a huge fan of the way he kind of speaks, but they found a way to get it done right. You were kind of distracted by the black and white, and you have all the highlights in the background. But he did say something interesting to me, which was basically like NXT needs like Finn Balor. And although that's not really true, of course, anyone can fill that role. But recently, after losing Keith Lee, and to me having no baby faces, they did need Finn Balor in this moment as champion, so that all these badass heels they got can work with him. You know.
And, no, I mean, I look at it as being weird because I look at Balor. That promo was not a babyface promo. That promo was a heel promo.
It wasn't. It was
a heel promo.
It was a heel.
It's a heel promo. I mean, let's just be for real. He came across as a heel, and that's fine. The one thing about Balor is that his matches are always excellent. I mean, the worst thing you could say about a Finn Balor match was is that you were disappointed by his standards, but you're not going to say that he had a bad match. That's not going to, his in-ring stuff is almost always excellent. His look sometimes can leave a little left to be desired and has nothing to do with how he looks physically. The man's always in shape. He looks like $1 million. The thing is that when you look at him from the neck up, he just looks like a normal dude. Like if he was to walk down the street, he's not particularly big. He's not particularly tall, not particularly super muscular. He just looks like a really fit dude walking down the street. Balor needs a lot. The thing about Balor is that he needs good in-ring opponents at all times so that his matches can be excellent, so that he can be able to show off all his in-ring skills. The theatrical presentation of these promos in terms of the black and white, the music, all that stuff, that's just WWE's wheelhouse. They're perfect when it comes to that stuff, almost always. Very rarely does WWE screw up in that arena. Balor cuts what I thought was a heel promo. And the fact that, and I loved it. I kind of laughed, and he was like, everybody form a queue to face the champ. It's just like he's basically saying all the guys in NXT, and he's doing the right thing. What I mean by this is that, yeah, he comes across as a heel, but he's doing the right thing in terms of putting the championship for, front and center. He's like, I'm the man because I'm the champion. And anybody who wants to come across the Prince, form a queue. In other words, that's British to form a line. Make a line and, line them up one by one, and I'll mow them all down. That usually sounds like something that a 6'5", 350-pound dude would be saying. But the fact that Balor can work against just about anybody and get a great match out of him, it makes perfect sense. But he certainly doesn't come across as a babyface here. He certainly doesn't. After the match that he had with Adam Cole, I want to see them wrestle again. It's just in this particular case is that I want to see a clear heel and babyface. Because I think that Adam Cole, especially after the promo he cut after he lost, that was a babyface promo. So, and we'll get further in with the Undisputed Era as this goes along. But I think Balor's going to, Balor can't stay as a tweener forever. I think at some point they're going to have to lean him one way or the other. I think he's going to lean more towards being a heel, and that's actually better, I think. Because, it's more befitting to his presentation. He can kind of get a big head. He is the NXT champion. He can do all of those things. And then you can start, kind of forming the baby faces around. And even if they're not white meat baby faces, because NXT doesn't have a lot of white meat baby faces, but you can start forming the line and really making it work. So yeah, the promo was excellent, but he's certainly a heel, at least in my eyes. He comes across as a heel. It's just a matter of WWE making that decision to either fully go with it, or if he's going to be a tweener, kind of lean him more towards the heel side, if they're going to keep that up.
All right. There were some promos in AEW too. We had the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer, come out with Jake. I guess Jake has the bright idea to team up with Taz and company. Starks and Cage. And the whole time you see Lance Archer's like not happy at all. So I'm glad that if you're gonna team them, you don't just have Lance Archer forget that these guys were beefing like a couple of weeks ago.
Well, Yeah, I'll let you finish because there's a lot to chew on here.
But yeah, he's gonna bring them out. And anytime I get to hear Taz and Jake have a conversation, that's always nice for me. Being two of the best talkers. Anyway, blah blah. This is to set up a 3-on-3. So John Moxley's has to find basically two partners.
Guy who has no friends trying to find two partners. Good luck.
Yeah. So luckily we got some fresh young talent. My boy Will Hobbs, who basically was probably brought in to be enhancement at first, but I guess has impressed them enough that they gave him a chance in the Battle Royal, and that's where I was like, oh shit, they're using this kid. He's a pretty big kid, pretty stacked, and he's still in the stage where he can get better. He can improve his physique, lose a little bit of fat. He's a big jack dude, and when he gets some abs on him, when he gets that body fat down, and he seems pretty comfortable and confident,
I'll say this: when I look at Will Hobbs, the first person that I think of is Ice Train.
Ah.
Like just the physical look. I mean, obviously, Ice Train was had a more bodybuilder type, but Will Hobbs kind of reminds me of him in the physical look.
Yeah, he's a thick dude. On television, he looks really, really, thick. He looked like a 300-pounder. He's probably 260 or 270. I don't know, but he looks 300. I see him. I'm like,
I would guess him around 280. I wouldn't get to 300. I'd top him at about 280. But yeah, he's
yeah, because he's also got some height on him too. But anyway, he comes out with all the fire, to kind of back up Moxley. And Moxley basically calls Darby like, Darby, you seem to be the only person I respect in this whole company. So come help me out next week. So what did you think?
This is kind of like one of those hot and cold type of things, right? So you're obviously setting up a 6-man tag match. Obviously they're trying to keep a story with Moxley and Archer somewhat going. I think AEW is making a tremendously huge mistake putting this match on free TV in October. This match should not be happening any time before November 7th when they are back on pay-per-view. You have to make people pay for these matches. I'm sorry, you cannot put them on free TV ever. Just don't do it. This match should be on pay-per-view. But anyway,
the one-on-one for the championship, yeah, Archer against
yes. That should be at their
so
next.
You see Archer as a big enough star to headline a pay-per-view?
No, but this is the thing. This is the thing about it. Within AEW's environment, they don't have many guys that are pay-per-view headliners. They only have a few guys, and most of them are the former WWE talents.
When I say paper, obviously we're not comparing them to Randy Orton and John Cena because they don't work for AEW. The top talent in AEW are the headliners. So to me, even Darby Allin, the way he's been presented and all the important stuff he's done, he's a headliner. To me, but Archer's so new, I still don't know where I want him.
Well, I just know for me, it's not a matter that Lance Archer is the guy that's selling the tickets. It's going to be John Moxley. Mm-hmm. John Moxley is the headliner. So realistically, it's a way to prepare Archer for that. And the thing about it is that if that's not the sexiest main event, you can put a lot of garnish around it, meaning on the card. You could put other matches on the card that will entice people to order it.
Actually, when you think about the matchup, Moxley, Archer, and they had a match in New Japan that was really good. It does feel like a nice main event matchup. They match up nicely together.
I'm just saying, listen, if I hold WWE to that standard when they put on matches on free TV that should be on pay-per-view, then AEW, knowing that they're still working through the traditional pay-per-view method, and that's a way for them to make money, you don't put that match on free TV. Just period. You don't do it. But anyway, back to the segment here. I like the fact that Archer, when Jay came out and, that he spoke with Lance, prior to coming out, and you could tell that Lance was not happy. He did, and I'm glad. This was a good piece of business. Lance looked upset the fact that Jake is working out the whole arrangement with Taz's boys, with Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. When Taz came out and he stands next to Jake and Archer, he looks like a small child standing next to them. I didn't like that because there's something about Taz that he comes across as more of a larger than life type of persona, and then standing them next to Jake and Archer, he looked really small, and I don't think it did him any favors. Moxley comes out, and he cuts his promo from the stage, but then Ricky Starks and Brian Cage were there waiting for him at the entrance ramp. What I would have done is I would have had Cage and Starks come to the ring, and then have Moxley go to the ring, because Moxley's Stone Cold Steve Austin 2020. He doesn't care. There's 5 guys in the ring who can all just pick at his bones. He don't care. He's just gonna go right in there and he's gonna go to work, which is the right thing to do. But ultimately, what happens? He goes about his business. He just goes right in, and he gets jumped in the where the crowd sits. The reason why I didn't like that is because when Will Hobbs has to go for the save, he has to run up the entire flight of stairs all the way up with a chair. That looks silly. Whereas if Moxley would have been in the ring, then he would have been able to come in with the chair and just clean house and wipe everybody out. And he would have been able to save Moxley's skin that way. With Will Hobbs, I appreciate the fact that AEW is trying to give this kid an opportunity, at a main event match with the big boys, with Moxley and all that. The issue that I kind of take with that is that Will Hobbs has only been presented one time on Dynamite, and then the one thing at the Battle Royal. Like I said, forget about AEW Dark. That show is catered only to the most avid AEW fans. Because if they top 1 million viewers, let's say they get 1 million viewers on TV, but when you look at their YouTube show, they garner 50% of that audience, that's a no-go. Will Hobbs needs to be presented more on Dynamite and winning matches on Dynamite in order to make him look like a somebody on the come up. And then when he comes to save Moxley's skin, it looks better. The fact that he called out, that he's asking Darby Allin to help him out. Listen, it's all good, and I know it's a recorded show, so, Darby wasn't available, and I get it. But realistically, this would have been better had Darby Allin tried to come in for the save initially. Like, let's just say Moxley's in the ring, all the heels start whooping his ass, and Darby comes out to help him. They thwart Darby, and then Hobbs comes in and cleans everybody out. You got your 3-man team right there. It would have been more exciting. I thought that the premise was okay. They kind of got their point across. I just think that there's a better way to do it. And realistically, it was like, okay, I get it. Darby Allin has got issues with Taz's boys. You got the story with Archer and Moxley, and Will Hobbs is the wild card. Totally cool, and I get it. They're trying to use Will Hobbs, and this is a good way to jumpstart him. But the way that this segment was executed was just kind of like, okay, I get it. I'm not going to completely trash it, but I was not impressed by it. Because what that means to tell me is that the heels who are beefing with each other were cooperating, because if Starks and Cage were sitting in the crowd, that means that they were already in cahoots, and they already knew that Moxley's going to come out. Let's take Moxley out. That's just stupid. If the heels got issues, let Starks and Cage be in the ring, and then basically Jake and Taz have got to tell their boys, stand down. The managers then have to tell their boys, stand down, and then Moxley comes into the ring, and then, as Archer so eloquently put it, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So then the three of them can focus on Moxley because all three of them don't like Mox. And then when Darby Allin comes to try to help, now it's 3 against 2, but it's still, you got clear heels and clear baby faces. And then when Will Hobbs comes out, he's the wild card. He saves the baby faces. And now you set your match up perfectly. And it would have been much, much better off in a presentation, all things considered. So hopefully what I'm hoping for is in this particular match is that when the match is over, the guy that gets the win is Will Hobbs. Will Hobbs has to get the win, and he's got to. And the thing about it is, unfortunately, the guy he's going to end up beating more than likely is going to be Ricky Starks. But it would be nice for him to probably beat Brian Cage because that's a match to be told. Because then you can set up a pay-per-view match with those two guys at the next pay-per-view, and that'll be an interesting piece of business to go to. That's just my take. If Will Hobbs doesn't win the fall next week, I think it'd probably be a semi-waste of him in that match.
Okay, so on the other side, we had Austin Theory against Kushida. Kind of a new version of Kushida.
Love it.
I love it too. I thought Kushida looked really good. I thought his offense, that's the good thing about some of these Japanese guys who can kind of do it all. And they have that realistic submission, they work really hard on their MMA game, and Kushida got some extra tricks in the bag, and he knows how to make stuff look really, really good. This is the best to me that he's looked since he's joined NXT. Since literally his first day where he came out and everybody was like, yeah, and then he's kind of not been used since then. But I think he looked great in the ring. His performance was great. His attitude, his facials, everything was great. I kind of want to see new gear. I want new everything. Let's go the Io Shirai route, who I thought didn't really need the refreshing, although I like her change because the music, and I think it is an improvement. I didn't think she needed it because I thought she was already great, but it did make her better. And but I think he actually needs it to match the rest of his persona right now. I still look at him and I see, you're telling me what, I still see Michael J. Fox.
He still got the whole Back to the Future time splitters.
Yeah, that's all gotta go. They need to hurry up. Maybe they didn't know they were gonna go this direction, so they gotta. But we gotta get moving. We need new music. We need new hair. We need new gear. If we're gonna go, we need to go. Really go all in with him because he did do a really, really good job.
I will say this for Kushida, that the thing is about when they switched Io Shirai, I understood why they did it. I ultimately didn't like it because I look at Io Shirai and I'm like, Io Shirai is a babyface. She's a babyface. Like you can't believe her as a heel. You just can't. Not as a single. When you take a look at the other women that she's wrestling, it's just like she's a babyface in her offense and everything. Kushida can't play a heel, especially in NXT. He could definitely play a heel. The issue that I take with Kushida is that he doesn't speak, his English sucks. So since he can't cut a promo in English, what ends up happening is that element to be able to speak, he cannot do. Because if Io Shirai is going to get the treatment of half Japanese, half English, or 3/4 Japanese and 1/4 English in terms of her promos, I don't necessarily know if you can do the same treatment with Kushida because you can't have both of them, kind of cut promos the same way. This is where a mouthpiece would be very good for Kushida. The thing is that Robert Stone cannot be that guy because he can't. I'm sorry, he can't.
If they would have never ruined him, he could have been.
This is who I think, realistically, I think who the WWE could bring back if he wanted to come back would be Paul Ellering. Because before WWE released the Authors of Pain, which is, before they were released from their contracts, there was talk about bringing Paul Ellering back and having him be part of that presentation with them, which is excellent because in all honesty, that was when they were at their best. I think Paul Ellering could act as the Gary Hart, God rest his soul. For those who don't know Gary Hart, Google him. He could be the Gary Hart to the Great Muta back in the day. Paul Ellering can do that for Kushida. and and be able to cut the promos on Kushida's behalf. And he doesn't have to say a word. He doesn't have to say anything. If you want to change his look, he can paint his face. He can come up, he can kind of be like a like semi-hybrid Great Muta, Jushin Liger and look, meaning obviously not with Liger's mask, but paint his face, do something that makes him look, more physically intimidating. He can't do the whole mist thing because Asuka's got that market covered, but to be able to kind of change his look somewhat and then have a mouthpiece, because I think that Paul Ellering might be a very good mouthpiece for him to cut promos on his behalf. And then Kushida can maybe say, a couple of things in Japanese or things that he might be comfortable cutting a promo in English, keeping it very brief. He can be able to get his point across. And I think that he can be a full-fledged heel with Paul Ellering as his manager. So, because again, Robert Stone, God bless him, but that won't work. Kushida's match against Austin Theory was great for this regard. Austin Theory comes out looking like a heel, which is weird because it kind of felt like a heel versus heel match at the end. So Austin Theory just starts talking smack, calling himself the greatest wrestler in the world, blase, blase, blah. Does an open challenge. I love it that Kushida just came out. No music, no entrance, no nothing. He just came to the ring and he's like, let's go. He basically punked out the referee, ring the bell, let's get it going. And then the match went. The one spot that I said when Austin Theory, he kind of punched the post and he was all messed up, and then Kushida hit that bulldog on the floor. I was like, if that doesn't end the match, this is completely fake. And then obviously got him in the ring, put the submission on him. 15 seconds later, the match was over. I was like, good. This was very, very good. I thought the match was what it was. The only thing is that it doesn't make me think of Austin Theory as a babyface, because Austin Theory can still be a heel, but now you're establishing now Kushida that he's kind of either he's becoming a much more aggressive babyface or he's turning. And I'm going with the latter instead of the former because I don't think that he was ever a very effective babyface. Meaning I don't necessarily know that the audience was ever truly behind him as a babyface. So if you turn him, that could be good, but you need to get a mouthpiece for him. And with the WWE, they got to be a little careful here because, again, this is one of WWE's biggest problems is that they don't know how to book babyfaces. They don't know how to get men and women over as just baby faces. It almost seems like every baby face has to be turned heel. So then when you turn them baby again, there's another layer to them. Sometimes you have to learn if you're gonna introduce someone as a baby face, you got to learn how to get them over as such. And that means is that you got to give them a good heel opponent that can beat the piss out of them and get the sympathy that the audience can feel some kind of sympathetic way for said baby face. So let's see what happens.
Okay, so on the other side, we had Eddie Kingston come to the ring with the gang. Penta, Ray Phoenix, Butcher, and Blade. He says, I got 3. I think that's 3 points to make or whatever. 1, I never lost a battle royal. Look up the rules, which was true, which I didn't notice. I don't know how I didn't notice this.
and here's my retort to that. Who cares? I'll explain why. I'll let you finish, but I'll explain why I'm saying who cares to that point.
Number 2, we are a family, which I like this because Eddie Kingston comes across as if you ever lived in New York, which, we both have, we know guys like this. These shit talkers who are full of shit, con artists who say whatever they got to say to get what they want, but it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And he actually comes across like that. I've known so many people like Eddie Kingston. It's kind of funny whenever I see his presentation, I kind of laugh a little bit. But we're a family. We're not a stable. We're not a faction. We're a family of violence. Anyway, he sends these guys out. They go beat some people up. And by the end of it, he looks at Blade and he goes, now that we're all together, it's time for you to get your house in order, which is, to me, obviously talking about Allie. which we've all been wondering. So I'm glad they kind of bring it up on TV. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, they didn't say what happened with Allie. She just leaves the Butcher and the Blade with no explanation, which I thought was gonna lead to some kind of match with Butcher and Blade against Dustin and QT, and they were gonna, and Allie was playing QT the whole time. That's what I kind of thought, but it never got to that. So I guess we have to wait to see where that goes, and what's gonna happen when he approaches Allie.
Okay. This was like the first segment. Yeah, I think this is the first segment on the AEW show that I looked up and I was like, this is a completely garbage segment. I like Eddie Kingston a lot. I do. And every time that I see Eddie Kingston with Butcher, Blade, and the Lucha Brothers, I keep thinking to myself, this is a waste of his talent. The one guy that I want to see, and I want to see Eddie Kingston, he's basically out there trying to help these four guys, try to elevate these four guys. Mm-hmm. Again, I understand. Listen, I understand the premise, and I can even, to a certain degree, I can even look at it and say, you know what, it's a nice thought, it's a nice concept. Here's the problem. The problem is with Eddie Kingston on AEW television, he's only had one match. And yes, it was a great match against Cody, minus the thumbtacks. But you need to do a whole lot more with him so that he can be established to be enough of a mouthpiece to get four guys, with all due respect, no matter how hard they work, they've never been booked to be anything but underneath guys. So to have Eddie Kingston work one match with Cody and then become essentially a manager mouthpiece for these four guys is like, it's just stupid. It's like I roll my eyes and I think like, damn it, this is a waste of his talent. Now, he comes out and he's saying, hey, I never got beat in the Battle Royal. You want to know why it doesn't matter? Because first of all, that Battle Royal sucked. But at the end, it comes down to it's heels against heels. So why should I as a fan care that Eddie Kingston, the heel, got screwed by Lance Archer, a heel? It's one thing if Lance Archer was Jungle Boy. He was a babyface that thwarted the rules, and now he's getting an opportunity over the head of a heel. Then it makes more sense. But the fact that they're both heels, neither one of them is sympathetic. I don't care for either one. I don't feel sorry for either one of them in this instance. So stop talking about that. That's stupid. It makes no sense. Now, he comes out and he's talking about, oh, we're a family of violence. We're agents of chaos, blase, blase, blah. And then he sends his boys out to basically go to first row ringside and basically take all the guys that are on AEW Dark and just beat them all up. Who cares? Sincerely, who cares? I don't. It was garbage. It was garbage. The fact that he came out and then he tells the Blade, hey, you got to get your house in order, in reference to Allie. Here's the problem. The problem is that it's never been acknowledged on AEW television that Allie is his wife. The only people that know that are the people like us that are, on the inside of this stuff. You have to, when Butcher, Blade, and Bunny were presented as a television item on AEW television, after so many weeks of being on TV, it has to be explained that, Bunny and the Blade are husband and wife. So that when this occurs and you see her with QT Marshall, then it's like, wait a minute. Now it's just like, what the hell's going on here? Then you got a reference point. There is none. What you're going to do now? Now you're going to reference that, hey, Allie and this guy, Braxton Sutter, the Blade, whatever, that they're husband and wife. It makes no sense. Now, if it really what this should it lead to a tag team match with the Natural Nightmares? The answer is no. It really needs to be a one-on-one match between Blade and QT. It has to lead to a one-on-one match because Butcher and Dustin Rhodes, like, what are they gonna play? Should they care? No. What you gotta squeeze in a spot for Brandy too? Like, no. It's again, this is where AEW is trying to. They're trying to deviate and go in other directions here. But the thing is that they have no reference point to begin with. So you're going to have to explain that story And the thing is, again, you cannot presume that your audience are all, inside wrestling type people that all know this stuff. You have to be able to explain it plainly that, hey, Bunny and the Blade are husband and wife. And you have to explain that and make it very plainly stated.
Well, I don't think they're trying to. I don't think when they said that, get your house in order, that they're saying it like everyone knows, because the announcers didn't know. They know, but they didn't know. They were like, what the hell is he talking about? So we're all gonna go on the journey together, whether you like the journey or not. That's whatever. But this is the starting point. This is the beginning of the explanation. It's like, what the hell is going on? This is the beginning of the story. Things have happened. We know what's happened. We know that Ali went away, but we don't even know. We're not even supposed to know. If you're in, you know where the story's going. But really, you're not supposed to know what the hell Eddie Kingston's talking about until next week when, or whenever it is that they bring it back up.
All I'm saying is that, it's not like Ali left 2 weeks ago. Ali's been gone now with she's been playing babyface now for the last several months. The fact that they haven't acknowledged it, they've done nothing. Butcher and Blade have been on TV for ever since then, in whatever capacity they've been used in, but it's been without the bunny, no explanations, and now you're going to go with this. It seems awkward. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. If it ends up being good, I'll acknowledge it that it's good. But again, I like Eddie Kingston a lot, and I think that what he's doing here is that he's trying to utilize a believed goodwill that he has, which again, I know a little bit about Eddie Kingston, and probably the AEW audience knows a lot more about Eddie Kingston, but it needs to be established a whole lot more before you start utilizing him to try to elevate, other talents that are really considered underneath.
Banana car.
Uh-oh. Okay. Cool.
For all those stuff. Like, and it was a legendary, but I didn't really want it.
You want to say hi?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hi.
What's up? How you doing?
Good.
Long time no see.
All right, go back. Let me finish, okay?
You're like 2 feet taller than the last time I saw you.
She's always getting taller. Hey, let me ask you before we move on. I haven't noticed Kyle O'Reilly. I don't know if I missed some stuff. What is he doing? Have they shown anything with Kyle O'Reilly? Because I feel like I haven't seen him, but I feel like I think I missed something.
They showed him this week on NXT. Now, I'll just jump into this right now because I know that we were talking about, I'll talk more about Undisputed Era as. So Adam Cole was not featured this week on NXT, but, he lost. He obviously lost to Balor 2 weeks ago. He cut that babyface promo where he was basically like, hey, he was the better man, blah, blah, blah. Nothing even remotely sounding like a heel. So this week you have Fish and O'Reilly, or not Fish and O'Reilly, excuse me, Fish and Roderick Strong. Mm-hmm. And they were going to wrestle a tag team match against Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Mm-hmm. And then you have Killian Dane basically looked over at Maverick and told him, if you think I'm going to tag up with you, you're crazy. You're going to fight this match on your own. Drake Maverick comes to the ring, and when he realizes that Killian Dane's not coming, he's like, oh boy, he's in deep doo-doo here. So now this is where, and I'm going to pull up my notes here because I just want to make sure that I don't get any, I don't miss anything here in this match. So Maverick's obviously fighting 2-on-1. Again, I like Drake Maverick a lot, so this is not a shot at him. I like him a lot. The fact that he's 5'4" and 140 pounds and he was wrestling a competitive 2-on-1 match against the Undisputed Era for the first little bit of that match, hanging in there and not getting beat, no bueno. He needs to be getting his ass kicked the entire time. And if it's a matter that Killian Dane was going to come out there, even if it was forced to, this match needed to be one segment match, not two, because it was a 2-on-1 match, and you have Strong and Fish, and mind you, look at the guys that they've competed against in the past. So if you take a look at their trajectory of all the guys that they've beaten, way bigger, way stronger, way tougher than Drake Maverick. The fact that the two of them couldn't beat Drake Maverick for the first 8 to 10 minutes of this match until Killian Dane decided to show up after being rightfully shamed by William Regal. Because in segment 1 of that match, I'm looking at Killian Dane and he's sitting there with the producers and the guys in gorilla position, and he's like laughing and like chucking it up. And I just, I wrote in my notes, is like, is no one going to say anything to Killian Dane? Why are you sitting here watching this match when you should be out there? Then in segment 2, when William Regal came up to him and he said, "You're just going to leave him out there?" And William Regal essentially shamed him to go to the ring.
Yeah, I liked how that came across. I thought William Regal came across really nice. I also liked on the main roster, they always record when people are watching backstage. It's very produced, like very bright. There's a giant screen. They're standing there. That's not realistic. That's probably not what happens if you were really watching backstage. That's not how you watch it, right? So you have the random little screen up top. Everyone sitting around the screen. That felt real. That felt nice. I kind of liked how that was shot.
No, it was very well done. When he was essentially shamed to go out there. Then he goes to the ring. He basically looks at Maverick and he says, he basically telling him, "Stay down, take your loss like a man, throw him in the ring." And then the Undisputed Era, I'm looking at it as like, you dopes are dumb. Y'all some dumbass dopes. So if you got a 2-on-1 advantage, why are you going to poke the bear and you call them out? They call them something like some fat dope or something like that. And then that brought Killian Dane into the ring. He wipes out the Undisputed Era. Then it's like, okay, Undisputed Era gets themselves disqualified, which again, I'm like, this is just shoddy booking. Undisputed Era needs to be protected at all times. They're still, it's like if Adam Cole turned babyface, and yet you have Fish and Strong wrestling this match essentially as heels to try to get over the new odd couple of the WWE. It's awkward and it's stupid. The way that this match needs to happen is that realistically, when Killian Dane comes down to the ring after being shamed by William Regal, he gets there too late. Drake Maverick gets beat in the process between him getting chewed out by William Regal and then he gets to the ring. The match is over. Killian Dane then kind of turns around and says, "Screw you, I'm out." Like, yeah, whatever, right? The Punk kid got beat. Then Undisputed Era pokes the bear, and they tell him something. He turns around, lays out the Undisputed Era, so they can get to go powder like a bunch of chicken shit heels. They can go do that. Then when Maverick goes in and says, "Thank you for saving my skin," blah, 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 then Killian Dane punches him out, leaves him laying, and off to the race, and then you just keep going. It's just a better way to book it. And again, it's like you cannot sacrifice the Undisputed Era for these two guys. You just can't. This was really bad booking. Some things came across okay, but overall, no good.
I think the problem is that NXT or whoever's booking the show assumes that Drake Maverick still has his steam, even though they did nothing with him when he was red hot. They stopped using him for a little bit, or they stopped doing anything of significance. They didn't keep him hot, and now they're starting over, and now it's not going to work because that's it. People no longer care. You got to take advantage when you have it, not just wait. Oh, well, we weren't expecting him to get over like this, so we don't have anything yet. We have to come up with something. Now you're coming up with some random, whatever, and it's not gonna work. I love Drake Maverick. I think he's great. Can do it all. And I think if they would have capitalized on this, this would be a whole different story. But they didn't. They took too long. And now you take two guys who are not hot at all and put them together. It's not, it's not the same. It just isn't.
No. And you can't. And the thing about it is that with the Undisputed Era, no matter if they're trying to separate them and have them go their own set, go veer off with those guys. The issue that happens at that point is that when you cannot sacrifice those guys You can't. You know, because the thing is that if you're going to use Fish and Strong in a more prominent position later on, again, look at the guys that they've faced and beaten as a tag team. You know, we can talk about the AOP, the War Machine. We could talk about, Ricochet, Pete Dunne, Aleister Black. You know, we can that's a nice laundry list, and those are just names that are coming off the top of my head. You mean to tell me that now it takes them, 10 minutes in a 2-on-1 and they can't beat Drake Maverick? No disrespect to him. It makes no sense. If it's a 1-on-1 match, okay, I can understand that. 2-on-1, no.
So what's going on with O'Reilly? Because like I said, I didn't notice him. Did I miss something?
Yes, you did. So the Tommaso, we'll talk about the Ciampa match that he had. It was brief.
Well, if you want, you can go straight into the Ciampa match right now.
Okay, so the Tommaso Ciampa match, he wrestled against and I want to get my notes here straight. Please forgive me here. It's just that I'm just pulling my notes. Nope, that's the main event match. Well, anyway, Ciampa worked a match on NXT. It was very, very brief, which is perfect. It was a very brief match. It was Tommaso Ciampa against Desmond Troy. I don't want to disrespect Desmond Troy. Ciampa looks amazing. I mean, just look at him. He looks like a star. I wrote that Desmond Troy, he kind of looks like Angelo Dawkins. There's no daylight.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, but the kid's got a good look. There's no daylight in Ciampa's wrestling. His wrestling is stiff. It's good. Everything looks great. He hits the slingshot and the DDT and he wins. Perfect. That match went about, I'll exaggerate and say 3 minutes. And I'll exaggerate that. I don't even think it went that long. Jake Atlas cuts a promo that was not good. Just because I look at Jake Atlas and I'm like, even when he tries to show aggression, it's almost like Mr. Rogers, God rest his soul, trying to be angry. He just can't cut an angry promo. He's just too nice of a guy. It just doesn't work. His fire looked fake. Okay, I thought the match with Ciampa was great. The afterbirth sucked. Now, here's what ended up happening. Later on in the show, the cameras catch Drake Atlas as he's leaving. This happened, and I keep hitting that table. I'll tell you what I thought was good about it and what was wrong about it, all at the same time. So after the Undisputed Era match against Drake Maverick and Killian Dane, mind you, Undisputed Era, so this is Fish and Strong. Wrestling is heels. So they go to a segment in the back outside where Jake Atlas is leaving and the cameras are there asking him more questions about, why he stepped up to Ciampa, meaning Atlas, why he stepped up to him. Ciampa comes in from behind and starts whooping his ass, which is the right thing to do. Ciampa's a heel. Perfect. And then Kyle O'Reilly, as Ciampa's beating Atlas's ass outside, Kyle O'Reilly's the one that breaks it up. Kyle O'Reilly basically stepped up to Ciampa and said, yo, you got a match with this guy next week. Let him be. Keep it moving. And Ciampa backs off and he walks away. Now, it's not like Kyle O'Reilly took a knee and was like, all concerned for Atlas. He just looked at Atlas, said, hey, are you okay? And Atlas is like, yeah, I'm fine. And then O'Reilly just walks off. Now, this is weird because if Adam Cole is a babyface and O'Reilly's playing pseudo babyface, then why the hell aren't Fish and Strong babyfaces too?
Yeah.
Made no sense. Now, again, it feels awkward to me because Jake Atlas, with all due respect, inside of the NXT world, Jake Atlas is not a top tier dude. He's not even a mid tier dude. He's still lower card guy.
Well,
now,
this is what they do, right? They assume that someone is over just because they did one thing with them. They forget about them and assume that they're going to keep the steam.
No, this kid is a lower tier dude. And I'm okay with Atlas wanting to get his receipt on Ciampa. I'm totally fine with that. What has to happen is Ciampa needs to beat him again, and this time even worse, so that O'Reilly can then come out and help him, not because he's Jake Atlas's friend, but because of the fact that now we're establishing Kyle O'Reilly as a single. I don't care to see Jake Atlas versus Tommaso Ciampa. I don't care at all. I don't care at all. But I am intrigued to see Kyle O'Reilly versus Tommaso Ciampa. I'm very intrigued to see that match. So I think that that's the seed that they're planting. It's just that I don't think that it was the best execution of it because, again, the week before you establish Adam Cole as a babyface, then the very segment that was preceding it, if Fish and Strong are in a match and they're in trouble, why didn't Kyle O'Reilly come out to help them? Mm-hmm. Because those are his boys. He didn't even come out to help them. Is O'Reilly a heel or is he a babyface? Listen, again, the same things that I harp on with AEW about when they give me these gaping holes of story, I'm going to do the same thing with the WWE. This is stupid, and especially with the Undisputed Era because they've always been heels, but if we're gonna switch them, you're gonna switch them as a unit.
Well, I kind of like that they haven't officially broken them up, so you have that going. But they're showing different personalities. Each of them are showing different intentions or whatever it may be. And maybe this is the beginning of a breakup, or maybe they're teasing it and they're not going to do it because you can do that too. You can kind of have a disagreement, but then at the end they come together. You know, maybe two of the guys are like, you know what, I think we should be doing things this way, and then the other two are like, what the hell are you talking about? No, any means necessary. Like, you know, you have it all wrong. They can argue and still stay together, but we can tease that we're gonna break up. So I kind of like that. So it looks like they're starting. You know, it's the beginning of a new story. So let's see where it goes.
I think what they're doing is that they're showing. I think that with Kyle O'Reilly, because Adam Cole's already been established as a main event single on NXT, so there's not much of a story to tell there except that if you're flipping him babyface, that's fine. With O'Reilly, I get the impression that with Kyle O'Reilly, what they're doing is that they're beginning to want to separate him. This is kind of the equivalent of, and I'm going to use this in TNA when they had. What did they call it? Fortune, and that one time when Bobby Roode did that standout promo, and it was like all of a sudden, boom, this was the breakout moment for Bobby Roode as a single outside of the group. Well, I think that this is what they're doing with Kyle O'Reilly. The difference is here is that when I'm looking at the Undisputed Era, they're excuse me, they're your main event talents. And it kind of drives me nuts that their booking has been very, very schizophrenic over the last couple of months. And listen, if you want them to kind of show their own independent minds, that's fine. But I don't like the fact that you have Cole working the main event, you have Fish and Strong working against underneath talents, and then you have Kyle O'Reilly kind of floating around, even though he's essentially picking a fight with Ciampa, which is a good thing because that's going to be fantastic. But the fact that he's helping out Jake Atlas kind of seems a little underneath him as well from a perception standpoint. From a perception standpoint, considering who Jake Atlas is perception-wise on NXT. So, like I said, I'm okay with certain things being done. It's just that there's got to be a little more clarity because you can't cloud this up too much because Undisputed Era is one of the few established units that you have. Don't cloud that up too much. You know, let's tie those bows up pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, I like that they're trying something because the reality is that Adam Cole is the main event act, not the Undisputed Era. These guys were starting to come off as just backup or, you know, almost lackeys. You know, Adam Cole is over. The rest of the Undisputed Era, the Undisputed Era as a unit, yes, it's over. But those individual talents are not. They're not perceived as main event guys. The group, you can put the whole group in the main event. But the three other guys, they're just the three other guys. When we know that they could, O'Reilly, could definitely do more. So I'm glad he's going to be given an opportunity to do more. So let's just see if he can get over.
Well, if he can't get over working with Ciampa, that's kind of a
They're definitely gonna tear the house down. So if you're into great matches and that's what gets people over for you, then they'll definitely get over. They'll both be even more over because they're so good in the ring.
that's correct.
So we had Frankie Kazarian against Hangman Page. Kenny Omega's on commentary, which was interesting. Kenny Omega is still sneaking in a lot of jabs. He's not outright shitting on Hangman. He kind of shits on him, but it's kind of like passive aggressive. It's all like almost like he's saying it underneath his breath, like yeah, this motherfucker. Like you don't see it, but you feel it, right? But yeah, this was a nice little back and forth, like very well put together. Hangman's not like, I don't know how long he's been wrestling, but he comes off like such a vet to me. He's so cool and like calm and smooth. And obviously Frankie's a vet. I'd imagine he's hitting 20 years if he hasn't already. I like at the end of the match, they have like the final sequence where Hangman, it looks like he wants to go for the buckshot lariat, but Frankie's too close. So then they have the sequence, like the battle, to get Frankie, like to get him out of the freaking way. So then it's like a back and forth, and finally Hangman catches him, gives him still what wasn't that much room. It was like just enough, and I was like, "There's no way he's gonna catch him. No way, he's too close." And he still caught him. I was like, "Oh!" I thought that was really cool. And then the last thing you see, Kenny's kind of not happy. He's like not really happy for Hangman about this. He kind of storms off, and obviously the story is obviously that Hangman feels bad. He's done some dumb shit. He's kind of like trying to. He's like the lost good guy in the movie who's hit rock bottom kind of, and is trying to find his way back to want things to go back to normal almost. So he's looking around like for Kenny and Hangman's facials over the last couple months have been fantastic. And Kenny's not there. He expects Kenny to be there. He knows Kenny's on commentary. He expects Kenny to come into the ring, at least say hi. Kenny's not there. So that's the last thing you see. Kenny's not there for Hangman.
Yeah, that's technically not the last thing you see in that segment. I'll get to it in a moment because it was really funny and bad editing. But I thought this match was good. And initially, I was not a fan of having Omega out there at ringside. One is because you have a fourth voice. And when Kenny started, he was like stammering and all this other stuff. And I just thought to myself, like, I'm like, dude, come on, man. You know the story you're trying to tell. I was not thrilled to see Omega out there, especially when the first words was like coming out of his mouth. Page looks like a star. Kaz always looks fantastic. I mean, there's no, having these two guys wrestle each other, very good. I can watch that every week on Dynamite. If they put those two guys on, I could watch that match every week. Always, nice, solid wrestling to start. Both guys can do it. There's a little daylight with those two guys. It's good stuff. Those chops by Adam Page, damn it, I don't want to feel them. Because, man, when he hit Frankie with those chops, it's like, I know Frankie's like, damn, that hurt. I kind of smirked a little bit because when Hangman Page hit the pescado, off the top rope, it looked like he was like smiling to the camera. It almost looked like he was pleased with himself when he hit the move. It almost looks like, damn it, this is something I've tried for weeks and months and I couldn't get it. And finally, damn it, I got it on somebody. So, I just looked up and I was like, yeah, he was like really tickled with himself when he hit that move. I liked this is one of the things about the picture-in-picture that both groups do it. AEW's much more, they're much more guilty of this than WWE when they do the picture-in-picture. AEW, somebody needs to give the referee the Iggy on the earpiece to tell them we're in commercial break. So although we're not going to want to put somebody in a headlock during picture-in-picture, but you can't have like so many near falls and so many like big spots happening during that picture-in-picture break. These are things that need to be part of the main feed so that they take center stage and take focus during the matches. I just think that it's just one of those things that drives me crazy. I'm like, picture in picture, yes, you can keep the action moving, but you got to slow it down. Slow it down some, because realistically, people can go to the bathroom during the commercial break. You know, they're not sitting there and watching that third of a screen where the match is happening all the time. Slow the match down a little bit. When Frankie hit the fisherman suplex on Kaz during the picture in picture, that's an absolute no. No, you don't do that. If you know you're in picture, that's a move that you got to hold off until, you know, they tell you, okay, we're back on. You know, that the show's back on, no more commercials, because that's a big spot. And when Adam Page kicks out of it, it should be looked at as a big spot. You know, Omega, as the match went on commentary, he actually got better in terms of telling his story, getting in and out. I'm not a big fan of the whole passive aggressive thing, you know, with these guys, because in professional wrestling is about gratuitous violence and it's about drama. And the thing is, the drama that these guys are doing with Omega, Page, the Bucks, all of this looks like high school drama stuff, high school BS drama. Don't really like it. Again, Kenny can go take jabs and all that stuff. Kenny should have probably stayed there in the commentary booth, and when Page looks at him, Omega then stares Page eye to eye and walks off on him. Don't run away like, I don't want Page to see me. Dude, you know, he knows you're there. Just stare at him and walk away. And just be like, no, I'm not ready to shake your hand. I'm not ready to talk. No. Be a man about it. You're like, no, this isn't happening. The pace is, you know, for the match, as the match went on, the pace quickened and it got more physical. So this match got better as it went along. I say this with all due respect, because this is a mistake Adam Page made during the match. There was one point in the match when he was going to go off the ropes, and he clearly turned his back on Frankie Kazarian before going off to the ropes. He clearly like turned his back where Frankie could have punched him in the back of the head. Don't do that. Ever. Just don't do it. It looks stupid. Always maintain visual of your opponent at all times in the ring, even when they're flat on their back. Just don't ever do that. The running shooting star press by Adam Page was a really cool spot. I don't necessarily know if I liked him doing it at that point in the match, because, you know, he had already been wrestling for about 10, 12 minutes at that point. I wasn't a big fan of him using that, you know, for a 2 count. That's something that you either use in the beginning of the match, it's kind of like, you know, one of your first high spots when you got a lot of energy, or if you're going to use it for like a quick finish type thing. Not in that point in the match. I have one big thing with Kenny Omega in terms of what he said is like, you know, he made a comment about, oh, how these guys are doing so well in the singles match when they're tag team wrestlers. I'm like, dude, that's a dumb thing to say. Adam Page and Frankie Kazarian may have, you know, might be more known as a tag team specialist over time, but he's a 20-year vet. You think that he's only wrestled tag team matches? You think that Adam Page has only wrestled tag team matches? No, don't say that. It's stupid. I understand what he's trying to get across. They're not tag team wrestlers. And on top of that, you don't want to diminish the tag team wrestlers in the company. Whether you realize it or not, it's kind of a subtle shot. I know it's not meant to be, but it comes across that way. And if you're trying to play tweener like I'm not babyface heel, no, don't piss on the tag team division if you were just tag team champions 2 weeks earlier. Anyway, moving on. This is where the match kind of started getting a little long in the tooth for me. So Kaz hits a tornado DDT for a 2 count. Then Kaz hits the Unprettier for a 2 count. Then the Death Valley Driver by Page for a 2 count. It's like, again, too many big moves and not winning the match. Kaz then hits an RKO / Diamond Cutter on Page for a 2 count. Running Powerbomb for a 2 count. You know, then they did the rest of, you know, the struggle sequence on the rope so that Page could get enough distance on Kazarian to hit the buckshot lariat. He hit it 1, 2, 3. I thought again it was a good match because it was not bad. It was a very good match. It just went too long. That match needed to be shorter to remove that sequence of all those, devastating moves that should have beaten just about anybody, and they're all going for a 2 count. Don't do that. That's just too many big moves to hit. Again, I've already mentioned about Omega. He sounded awkward when he was trying to run away from the broadcast booth. It's like, dude, if you want to purport yourself as a tough guy, just stand there. Let Page look at you. You got to understand that Page feels bad about what he did, and he's trying to get you to forgive him. Just walk away. You're not being a heel by saying, you know what? Yeah, this is a friend that I'm not ready to forgive yet. Just stay there. Stand there, let Page look at you, and almost like without asking you to come to the ring and shake his hand and let's get forgiveness. You'll just walk away. The one thing that this was hysterical to me because this was a production faux pas by AEW. So the last thing that they show is Adam Page in the corner, having a beer after the match was over. And then if you see in the background, you see MJF walking down the ramp, getting himself ready for his segment, which came up right afterwards. This is a tape show, ladies and gentlemen. Cut that out. I just saw that and I laughed hysterically. I was just like, damn it. If this was a live show, I could understand that. And I'd be like, that's just a production faux pas. But knowing that it's a tape show, dude, that's just bad editing. Like, you don't have to show the shot of Page drinking his beer. If that shot of MJF walking through, if that ruined the shot, just say it was ruined. Do something else. You don't have to show that. But like I said, good match. Went a little long in the tooth, but it was a good match. Good effort by both guys, and let's see what happens with this Page Omega storyline. I just want these guys to stop being so passive aggressive. Just say what you want to say, do what you got to do, and make it happen.
Okay, we have Breezango versus Imperium. Imperium's gonna rush to the ring and get like this head start, like if this is a blood feud. I'm not a big fan of the rushing to the ring. I love the rushing to the ring, but I feel like I've seen
by the heels.
But I see it I feel like I'm starting to see it every week. Like, what is going on? You don't need to get the head start. Like, let's save this. I know it's a cool thing you can add to your match, but save it. Let's save it. Why is this happening? This does not feel like a crazy feud that needs like this crazy head start. Oh, we're so pissed off at you. We need to get a head start on you. It's like I don't know if the story calls for that just yet. Like,
there's a much easier way for this to be done and be done correctly. What happens is that when Breezango came to the ring doing their best Village People cosplay, Imperium comes from behind with chairs. They're heels. You whack them both in the back, you knock them out. Now, yes, it would look even stupider knowing that Breezango ended up winning the match. But be heels. Maybe the chair is a bit of an exaggeration. Jump them. You throw Tyler Breeze against the wall. You beat him up because Fandango wrestled the match. He wrestled the first half of the match all by himself.
So yeah, I believe it was almost 10 minutes.
So it's just come on. These are the types of matches, and again, this is where I know that with Breezango, you got to give them the tag team titles, or it almost feels like there's no justification for them to be on NXT. But the thing is that when you pair them against Imperium, this is a match where I felt bad having Imperium lose. This is a match that I would have been like, Imperium needed to win. Because again, and this is with all due respect to Breezango being the NXT Tag Team Champions, knowing that they've been working only with Legado del Fantasma, they haven't been really established as like tag team champions that we need to fear or that we need to be concerned about. Imperium should have won this match. I don't like the fact that Breeze and Fandango won the match. But anyway, so it's basically a handicap match for the first half of the match. Fandango was wrestling 2-on-1 because He just couldn't get to Tyler Breeze, which is great tag team wrestling by the heels. They're just showing dominance. There was at one point where Fandango got hit with a couple of devastating double team moves by Imperium, and he kept kicking out. And I looked up and I was like, no. Tyler Breeze needs to get in there, and he needs to save him. I was frustrated by the fact that it just seemed like Fandango kept kicking out by himself. It almost made the double team moves look ineffective. It's not like they hit it in the first 30 seconds of the match. It was 5 minutes in, 6 minutes in, 8 minutes in, and they're hitting Fandango with double team moves that should be able to finish him. And Tyler Breeze never came in to help him.
Let me tell you, I was getting a little annoyed of how long it was taking, like how long they were double teaming him or whatever, jumping him, because it felt like a 2-on-1 attack for 10 minutes. But I will say that when Fandango finally was able to stop them and finally get some offense, he hit this huge like lariat clothesline. I was like, oh, it almost made it worth it. I was like, well, at least he had the right move to get out of this situation, because it was bad. He got nothing. Nothing.
Listen, all I know is that this match, they did the second part of the match right, meaning the way that most tag team matches would start is the baby faces get their shine on the heels. Then the heels get the heat spot. They beat up on the baby faces for whatever, 5, 6, 8, 10 minutes. They just beat them up. And then from there, they get the hot tag, and then they can go ahead and do whatever they got to do. In this particular case, it seemed like Imperium was beating up Fandango and doing the heat spot right from the beginning of the match. The issue that I take with this is that Fandango, being the bigger guy in the crew, when he tags in Tyler Breeze, it almost seems like Breeze's offense looks good, but it looks a little funny, being that he's beating up two guys that are clearly much larger than him. And had the roles been switched, meaning Tyler Breeze would be in there at the beginning of the match taking the beating, and Fandango would get the hot tag, it might make more sense. Because Fandango, being bigger and stronger, he can be able to go 2-on-1 against Imperium in a hot tag situation. When Tyler Breeze does it, listen, Breeze is a fantastic talent. I'm not going to take anything from him. It's just a matter that his size becomes an impediment to him. I like the double team sequence when Fandango got away from Bartel and was able to tag. I hate the simultaneous tags. This is where in pro wrestling, this is just a thing now. Almost 99% of all tag team matches always have the simultaneous cold tags. They don't know how to do the hot tag. They don't know how to milk anything in the tag team match. That's very good. There was one sequence towards the end of the match where it looked like Tyler Breeze got into the ring. The referee told him something, and then Tyler Breeze rolls out. I'm like, dude, if you came in the wrong spot during your match, the referee should not be telling you anything. One of the heels should recognize that you're not in the right spot, and they got to kick you out. It makes more sense than having the referee tell you something, and then you just roll out of the ring and play dead for another 2 minutes until it's your spot. It looks stupid. Don't do that. When Imperium was going to do the double team that looked like it was going to be the finish, again, this is just my thing with the referees. This is referees in general. You have to count. Don't stand there knowing there's like, all right, well, this is a spot that's going to lead to the finish, so you don't count. You have to count. Always. Just don't discredit yourself. Always count. Imperium's double team gets foiled. Breeze catches a quick one on Aichner, because it was a quick one. It was meant to be just that. The problem is that I would have been happier with Imperium winning this match, winning the titles back, and then you got to tell another story with Breezango, to where they can be, again, everything about Breezango still comes across to me as comedy, and there isn't enough that makes them seem believable to me. The announcers are always trying to say, oh, well, underneath this facade are great wrestlers. Yes, I know that. The problem is it doesn't come across well enough on television. That's the thing. And I think that with Aichner and Bartel, you can't have them losing to Breezango all the time, not like this. There's something about Imperium's presentation that when you beat them, You have to beat them. You can't be getting these quick ones on them. If you're going to beat them, you got to beat them. And this is a match that Imperium, the way that the match was laid out and structured, Imperium shouldn't have lost. They should have won.
This is where, WWE style of booking where two people are just going to face each other every week until the feud is over does not do the NXT any favors because their tag team division is non-existent right now. They have no tag team, so now you have only 2 tag teams, let's say. They probably have another 2 or 3 that don't matter, but these are the 2 main tag teams that you have, so they have to face each other every week. And Imperium, a team that probably, because like you said, because of their presentation, probably shouldn't be losing clean or, when you lose them, it should feel important and big, and it should be a big deal. And now you're beating them all the time, even if it's a bullshit like roll up or whatever it is.
Doesn't matter. It looks bad.
This feud should have been, the first match at the first takeover, maybe a match in between, and then a match at the last another takeover, and then end it. And it looks like we're just gonna get a whole bunch of matches. Who knows? There might be 7 matches before we get something settled.
Yeah, and I'm not
more tag teams.
Listen, I agree. It's a matter that with Imperium, I think that them being the tag team champions means more. And this is not a shot at Fandango and Tyler Breeze. It's not.
Well, let's call it what it is. It's the same thing that happened with Strowman. These guys should have not been given a belt because the story wasn't told for them to win the belt. That's it.
Correct. And the thing is with the 2 of them is that they're great talents, but they just came to NXT. Nothing has changed about their presentation. It's like even when they're trying to be serious, they still look goofy. I still want to laugh at them even when they're trying to be serious. So funny ain't money. And the thing about Breezango is if you're going to put the belts on them, you have to tell a story. Imperium has to be the dominating champions that just dominate the division for long stretches of time. Even if they don't wrestle that much, but every time they do, it's a pretty dominant performance. If you get any kind of real sustained offense on them, consider yourself lucky. So like that, with Breezango, you can start telling stories where they're wrestling the underneath guys, but then little by little, they're wrestling bigger, stronger, tougher opponents, and yet they're coming from underneath. And you're starting to begin to peel layers. Yes, they can still do the whole Village People cosplay, and they can do all that silly stuff. It's part of their presentation, but there's more to them than that. The problem is that they, under the time restraints that WWE puts, meaning that, they're not featured all the time, you got to do more, and you got to feature them more, and little by little, you start peeling off the layers of Fandango and Tyler Breeze and get them to be show a little twinge of the real person, the real 2 persons underneath, and not the characters or the performers that you see on NXT. So again, I thought the match was okay. It was not a bad match. It's just that I don't like the way that Imperium should have won. And I'll keep saying that again. I sound like a broken record. They should have won this match. So
okay, then we had Ivelisse against Thunder Rosa for the NWA Championship.
So disappointing.
I still thought it was good. I think it had some clunky moments. I think there were moments where you kind of see Ivelisse thinking, which I wasn't a fan of that. Ivelisse has those moments, but Ivelisse can be great at times too. Either way, I also didn't like that Ivelisse decided to fix her hair 400 times during this match.
I thought the same thing.
I was like, why? Just leave it alone. Please leave it alone, because in the moments where it's almost like she's trying to do the right thing, so she's like, okay, I gotta show my face. I'm selling. And in the process of showing your face and trying to get your face to be seen, you have to go and fix your hair and okay, now look at my face. And it's like, it takes away. First of all, we know throughout the history of wrestling how many people have had long hair. I've never seen someone fix their hair this much. So you obviously don't need to do it. Having your hair all over your face and in your mouth and all that stuff, that's awesome. Please don't play with your hair so much. It's so distracting. I kept catching her. I'm like, oh no, again and again.
You
Um,
know, I think that you and I, we should watch that match again and do a drinking game. Every time Eva Lee, fixes her hair, we take a shot. We'd both be stone cold drunk by the end of it. This was,
I'm,
yeah, I think we should play a drinking game. I think you and I should watch that match back, play a drinking game.
yeah.
And
I hope we're drinking something that's not too strong because I don't want to die. But I mean, besides that, I liked this match was very physical. Like, that's the good thing about Latinas in wrestling. They don't play. They hit each other very hard. It was very physical. They were hitting the shit out of each other. I liked when they traded arm drags and then they go and they get stuck. That's what I like about Thunder Rosa. You could tell like it's since she's kind of new, but she's good and she kind of gets it. She's kind of has a lot of little tools and they're all fresh in her head. It's not like a 15-year vet has probably forgotten more than than the shit that they use. You go back and you watch an old Orton match or old Cena match, you're like, oh shit, I forgot they used to do this move, and they don't ever bring it out because it's almost like they forget their toolbox because it gets too big. I know some people might limit their toolbox, but I don't think so. I truly believe some people forget that certain shit that they used to do.
Well, so sometimes it could be a matter that either some of those moves are no longer pertinent to their presentation. So sometimes they don't do it, or it would be a matter that you can use that move in a match against an opponent that is showing their mettle to be able to get past what you can do naturally already. They can step in there and then give you more trouble. But yeah, the match between Shida and Thunder Rosa, I was so looking forward to it. I really wanted it to be good, and I was so disappointed with it at the end. You pointed out to you already pointed out one of my big pet peeves in this match is that Eva Lee kept flipping her hair. Listen, I so badly want Eva Lee to succeed. I so badly want her to succeed because she's so good. She is so good. The problem is that when I first watched that match in the very beginning, I was like, these two women look like they're trying to remember spots. Mm-hmm. And it angers me because Eva Lee's has been wrestling for 15, 16 years. Thunder Rosa's only been working for 5, and yet Thunder Rosa looked better in the ring than Eva Lee's did.
Yeah, and the thing that right away, because I've seen Eva Lee's be a lot better than, to me, there's the thing with Eva Lee's is like, I guess when she's not working as much, she gets a little bit rusty, it feels like, because I've seen her be better than the best version of Thunder Rosa, but Thunder Rosa seems to be more consistent. Like, Thunder Rosa's always, like, at the top of her game, and Eva Lee's kind of goes above that and below that, and above that and below that. It's really weird, but, they're all, every performer is different. They're going to have, some people are more consistent, and we know one of Eva Lee's issues, she's not consistent.
Well, this is one of the problems that's going to happen with Eva Lee's if this continues. This was a major opportunity, and again, it kind of bothers me because Thunder Rosa's best match in AEW was the one that she had against Serena Deeb. The match that she had against Shida was okay, but not nearly as good as the one she had with Serena Deeb. And this match against Eva Lee's was not as good as the one she had against Shida, and certainly not as good as the one she had against Serena Deeb. So the issue that I'm having is that if Thunder Rosa could be that consistent and just always be excellent at the very good or excellent as her baseline, and yet if she, depending on the opponent, it can make the match good or bad, that again, it kind of lends itself to the complaints that I've had about AEW's women's division of not being very good. I would not have included Eva Lee's in that group. I think with Eva Lee's, there's something for me that when I'm watching her, it almost kind of seems like she recognizes where she's wrestling, and it like gets into her head. It's not like she's wrestling some local indie. She's wrestling, worldwide television, and then she's just trying to remember this perfect match. And I'm like, listen, if you're concerned about your facials, put your face in a ponytail. Put it in a do something different with your hair, because she kept flipping it and flipping it and flipping it. I was so distracted by that. The match in the beginning looked very sloppy. because they look like they were just trying to remember spots. And I'm like, damn it, don't try to remember spots. It's like, Ivelisse, you've wrestled hundreds, if not thousands of matches at this point. You should already know how to work a match. If you and Rosa have not worked together prior to this, that's totally fine. You know what you do? You get in the ring prior to the show taping. It's a freaking closed set. Go in, work your match. Make sure you got your fundamentals down and that each one of you guys kind of gets an understanding of the other one's, you know, timing and all that other stuff. You're not going to do it in your first match, but damn it, this looked bad in the beginning. No, you know, with Ivelisse, like, she didn't sell Thunder Rosa's kick in the corner. When she was laying there and Thunder Rosa hits her with that running kick, and she just stood there, no facial, no pain, no nothing. It's like, damn it, Ivelisse, you're better than that. I've seen her. She's much better than this. You know, the match, you know, the match went out to the floor. No need for the match to go out to the floor. I'm sorry. This match should have never been to the outside of the ring. And it's not because it's a girls' match. It's just because of the fact that if you're presenting Thunder Rosa as the NWA Women's World Champion and she's like, you know, trying to present the, you know, the finer points of pro wrestling, this match didn't need to go out on the floor. There's not enough of an issue between these two women for this match to go out to the floor. No need for that. I saw too much daylight in Ivelisse's chin lock. She had a chin lock, and I swear that, you know, Thunder Rosa could have done this with her head inside of her arm. Like, there's way too much daylight because Ivelisse is thinking about the next spot and not applying the damn hold. Again, the match is just not smooth at all. It just was not smooth in any way, shape, or form. You know, the Dragon Screw leg whip by Thunder Rosa looked really good. Ivelisse's Tiger Driver, when she hit that move on Thunder Rosa, it looked almost dangerous because it almost looked like Thunder Rosa didn't have enough, because Ivelisse is short and Thunder, you know, there's not enough space between head and feet for Thunder Rosa to be able to pick her body up and take the blow. It almost looked dangerous. I'm like, careful. You know, then the Death Valley Driver doesn't beat Ivelisse, and then she's right back on offense. Come on, man. Seriously. Freaking sell. Death Valley Driver is not a wrist lock. Damn it. Some moves need to be sold better than others. Like, stop. When Thunder Rosa beat Ivelisse with the Tombstone Pile Driver, good. If she would have kicked out of the Tombstone Pile Driver, it would have been like, this match sucked. I would have been like, this match was the shits no matter what. Like, so you got to be able, what do you have to do now? You're going to have to kill these girls? Then Ivelisse and Diamante jump Rosa after the match, and then Shida comes in for the save. Not necessary. The match was not very good to begin with. There's no need. What they're doing is that they're utilizing the match, which should have been a match to showcase Ivelisse and Thunder Rosa. The match did not go very well. That's fine. The match didn't go well. But what you need to do is that let Diamante and Ivelisse cut heel promos to say about the match. And then if you feature Thunder Rosa the next week, let's just say she's wrestling against Random Girl X, then you can have the heels come out, jumper, and then you have Shida come in for the save. They're combining too many things inside that one segment. No need to do that. Not every match in AEW needs to have an afterbirth. And it just seems like that's like a pattern they have. They're always trying to tell the afterbirth. There's no need for that. I was really disappointed with this match. I expected so much more. I know they're going to have the tag match next week where it's going to be Shida and Thunder Rosa against Diamante and Ivelisse. I really hope that this match is better. Again, I think Thunder Rosa is fantastic. And again, the fact that Thunder Rosa is now working every week on AEW, the fact that now Melina is going back to the WWE, there's some things about this that are leading me to think that the NWA the doors might be closing in on the NWA. So if that's the case, you got a lot of great talent. It's all a matter that I desperately want these women to succeed. I think Thunder Rosa is fantastic. I think the world of Ivelisse, even though I think that for the most part she tends to have the worst matches in the highest leverage moments, and that's not good. I think Diamante is a good talent, and she's got potential. And even though I think that with Hikaru Shida, her fundamentals are not very good, and she does a lot of things that look fake and phony, meaning in her facials, and she does a lot of things that she probably shouldn't be doing. But it's probably a matter of her learning and her learning how to work the American style that it might have worked very well in Japan, but it may not translate that well here in the US. She'll learn, and I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. But I want this match to be really good because I want Diamante and particularly Ivelisse, I want them to succeed. And I want them to be able to get over and be successful because they're excellent talents, and I want them to get over. Because AEW and those individual talents, they need it mutually. Because if they can get over and strengthen up the women's division, and let's just say that in a perfect world, Thunder Rosa ends up full-time in AEW, that could be fantastic for their women's division because they have some pretty green talents. So if you're able to get these girls in full-time and have them shore up the women's division and make it great, it could be fun to watch. Don't screw up your matches. I'm pulling for you. Come on, I'm pulling for you.
All right, so we had Shotzi Blackheart versus Io Shirai. I tell you, every time I see Shotzi's entrance, after the little tank, I think she does more to get herself over in those 10 seconds once she gets off the tank and walks into the ring, and she like howls at the moon, and she does this thing right here. She has like all these little things that she does before the match even starts, and I'm like, oh, this girl is so. She's like very entertaining. She's like an anime character or something. I tell you what, I think she's gonna be a big star someday. I really do. She's got so much charisma. But anyway, before I go into this match, I need to say something about selling, right? Now, a lot of people in the old school will tell you that when you don't sell in wrestling or whatever, it's that's not realistic. If you get punched in the face in a fight, you have to go like this, and you gotta cry. First of all, if you've seen any real fight, selling the way it's done in wrestling in its entire history is not realistic. But it's a reason for that, right? Wrestling is, in a way, like theater, like Broadway. It's a live performance, and there are people in the crowd watching, and there are people who are very, very far, and they need to be able to see everything that's going on. So that's the reason people need to sell, not because it's real, or not because it makes wrestling look real, because it doesn't, but it's part of the performance. Me hitting you with a punch and you not moving at all and not reacting makes the punch look like it never even happened in wrestling. But if you watch a boxing match or if you watch MMA and someone gets punched in the face, it's like nothing happened. They keep it moving. They move forward. Keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Or even if you see a fight in the street, unless one of the guys is overmatched and he gets punched and he goes to bed.
The knockout punch is
the knockout punch.
In a real fight, you're selling when you get knocked out.
Yeah, you go to bed. This is when you're sleeping, when you're done. But either way, this match had almost no selling at all, and it kind of ruined it. For the reasons that I say, it's like it just doesn't register in wrestling when you don't sell. It just doesn't. I'm talking about not reacting at all. Like you get punched and you just like get up like nothing happened, and you just keep it going. You're just going move A, move B, move C, or spot A, spot B, spot C. I noticed that more than any match on Wednesday in this match. There were some big shots, but it was like, okay, on to the next move, on to the next move. Although a lot of the stuff looked good, it kind of took away from it. These girls are pretty good in the ring. Io Shirai is really, really good, and it kind of messed up the match for me. Anyway, so for the win, Io Shirai is gonna hit her with her moonsault, patented moonsault, and Shotzi is so far, and I'm like, there's no way in hell that Io, although she is a freak athlete, there's no way she's gonna make it, and of course she does not make it. She goes knees first, right into Shotzi's belly. Boom! I was like, oh my God. And Shotzi, thank God that it's funny because
Off up for lunch.
that's the finish you almost can't sell, right? You got to sit there and and take the pin. So the time where she was probably really hurt, she couldn't go like what you would really do if you got the wind knocked out of you. You'd probably grab your stomach, you probably turn over, and you probably can't breathe. But she can't do that because at the finish, she got to take this pin. So you kind of see her like, oh shit, and then she's got to sit there and wait, and then she gets the pin. Quick, 1, 2, 3, it's over. Then at the end, they're gonna shake hands because they're both baby faces.
Which is not the right thing to do.
I don't think it needed the handshaking because I don't think like Shotzi needs that right now. I don't think we were expecting. It felt like a random match. It didn't feel like this big moment, passing of the torch moment. So it's like you could save the handshake every time two baby faces fight. You don't have to shake hands, or you don't have to make it so filled with so much drama. It's like, oh, are they gonna shake hands? It's like you don't have to do that. You can pat her on the back, yo, good job, kid, and be on your way. But I will say, Shotzi, to me, I like this. I'm sure you didn't like it, but because I read your notes. but I did like Shotzi is gonna get up to take this handshake, but she gets up for a second, right? She's like, okay, I'm gonna get up. She takes this handshake, she goes right back down. She's on it, she gets like on a knee, almost like after like a tough football game or something. You gotta take a knee, a tough practice, whatever. She took a knee, so she did go back down and acknowledge that she was in a fight, even though she took the moment, the handshake, she went back down. But yeah, that's it.
I mean, listen, this is one of those things where with NXT and AEW, they both do this, and again, I understand that in modern wrestling, they want to talk about, we want to be able to move away from traditional heel and babyface roles. There's a reason why traditional heel and babyface roles worked 30 and 40 years ago, and they still work today. Because if you have heels versus heels, nobody's going to care because there's no sympathetic figure. So the fans are like, why should I care what happens to either one of these people? And if you have two baby faces, it kind of falls flat because for the match to generally work, someone has to heel. Even if they're not cheating, but healing meaning being more aggressive, bending of the rules, not necessarily breaking them, but bending them enough to where it doesn't feel like what a baby face would normally do, unless they're enticed by a heel who is continuously cheating, and then it forces the baby face to have to retaliate, like in kind. Again, I like Shotzi Blackheart. I think she's very, very colorful and she has a lot of charisma. I think that Io Shirai looks like a star. I just wish that she wouldn't stumble so much to the ring during her entrance. She almost is walking like she's drunk every time she walks to the ring. I understand it's part of her presentation, but it's just like, I understood it when she was the heel version of it because it was almost like she was hearing like voices in her head and whatever, but it'll be okay. She could just walk to the ring normally. She doesn't have to do that whole stumbling to the ring. I like this match was already, in the beginning, was already established that Shotzi Blackheart was the babyface and Io Shirai was the heel. It was established immediately. When Shotzi Blackheart went to shake her hand and Io Shirai slapped it away. It was immediately at that point that, all right, if someone is going to get aggressive here, it's going to be Io Shirai. There was a small hiccup in the beginning of the match, when both women were transitioning into a move during the match, specifically when Shotzi was put in the crucifix. Because Shotzi literally sat there for a second and she like turned around like, all right, Io, go get me. It's like those are the kinds of things that when you rehearse the match or you have certain spots and you know that it's going to happen, this is where if somebody's even off by a second, everything can fall apart. Even as a pro, Shotzi doesn't have to look down. Shotzi could slap her. Shotzi could just simply slap her in the gut or whatever, and then, Io grabs her. And if Io gets hot about it, he can apologize, do it, during one of the moves, like, hey, I'm sorry, you just got there late, whatever. The Acai moonsault that Io Shirai hit on Shotzi looked really, really bad. Shotzi almost looked scared to take the move. If you're not willing to catch her, and if you're not willing to take the move, then you need to tell Io, please don't do it. Because she looked scared. She almost looked like she crumbled like this. And I'm like, the whole purpose of the move is you have to take it flush, because if you don't, both of you could get hurt. For real. Come on. Either be willing to take it or just ask her not to do it. I didn't like the fact that it's a baby versus baby match, only because of the fact that Io Shirai, being the NXT Women's Champion, who is a baby face, has to play heel here. Because Shotzi Blackheart's presentation has never been presented with her having that aggressive heel side. So that I didn't like that much. I like the fact that they both, by Io Shirai, she slowed the match down during the picture-in-picture, which was very good. I'm glad they did that. And I wrote one of my notes, I don't like babyface versus babyface matchups, but I like these two wrestling against each other. There's something about Shotzi Blackheart versus Io Shirai that works. I can watch them wrestle again. Do they have to switch babyface and heel? Not really. But if we're already establishing that Io Shirai will be more aggressive, then we can kind of put her in the pseudo heel role. I don't like the fact that, it's kind of weird because Io Shirai tends to apply all her holds with the right arm. Mind you, this is just something because in American wrestling, you always apply all your holds with the left arm. And it's just because of the way that people get shot off the ropes and the way that moves are applied in American catch wrestling. The crossface by Io Shirai looked really good. It was a nice transition, good-looking submission move. The problem is that Shotzi Blackheart is right back on offense after getting stretched. No good. Thou must sell. Sell. Jesus. Sell. It's not that hard. Sell. I liked the transition when Shotzi, hit Io Shirai with the German suplex and then did the double chicken wing submission move. That was excellent. That was really a nice transition spot. That looked really good. I liked it a lot. I wrote just like you said, when you were complaining about them not selling, and I said neither one of these girls is selling very well. They're just selling nothing. Again, big Hurricane Rana from Shotzi for a 2 count. The German suplex, a German suplex by Io on Shotzi on the apron should have been the finish. Should have been the finish. And it only gets a 2 count. That's a devastating move when a guy takes it, much more when a girl takes it. You should go down. It's an injury angle. Don't do it for a freaking 2 count. Stop. Then of course, the whole the moonsault that was basically a shin salt or a knee salt right to the gut. Shotzi's lucky that she didn't cough up her lunch when she got hit with that move. Again, you're right. I did not like the handshake only because of the fact that when Shotzi Blackheart got hit with that, it would have been one thing had Io Shirai actually taken a knee and Shotzi may have been sitting or trying to get up, but she couldn't, and then kind of said give her the pat on the back, and then Io leaves Shotzi the ring. That's all you need. You give Shotzi Blackheart the ring so that she can have that one shine moment where you can kind of acknowledge that now Shotzi Blackheart has somewhat elevated herself to the next level by having a really good match with the champion. That's all you needed to do. Do I think Shotzi Blackheart needed to stand up? No. Because again, it's like she took the back suplex on the apron, and then she took the knees to the gut, even though that wasn't the intended shot. She shouldn't have gotten up. Even if she could, she shouldn't have. You got to sell. Thou must sell. I'm going to make a T-shirt about that. Thou must sell.
Well, if you're going to make the T-shirt, that T-shirt must sell too.
That's right. Thou must sell, brother.
We had FTR against Jurassic Express.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, man. I mean, I thought this was a really, really fun cool match. It was similar to most the matches that Jurassic Express has, just a elevated version of it because FTR, they're so good. But this is Jungle Boy, usually does all the fun stuff in the beginning of the match, and you're gonna build to a hot tag for Luchasaurus, and he's gonna come in and do his hot tag that is now in AEW world is probably pretty famous. It's like the first time I know the first time I saw his hot tag, I was like, what the fuck did I just see? Like, it was unbelievable. And I got to see that in person too. But either way, this was probably the best one I've seen yet. Probably because FTR, they're really good at structuring stuff and putting things in the right place and having things make sense. I also like that, basically for the win, you're going to have a little assistance, and FTR, it's very subtle and sneaky, and they always hide the ref. Like, the ref can't ever see it. And whether it's Tully or Dax or Cass, they all do it well. They all find a way to sneak a win. And you can argue that they don't need to do that. But it just hammers it home. We are the heels, and we're going to take this shortcut. And we're going to talk as much shit about playing by the rules and doing all this. And we're always going to sneak in some bullshit to get a victory. Which is great because it just makes you root for Jurassic Express next time. Like, it's like they got screwed. But I think everyone looked good. I think it was a fun match. Everyone looked good. I think I had a good time watching it. Yeah, it was fun.
I will say this about this match. For me, the bell to bell, this was probably the best tag team match that I've seen in AEW. I really enjoyed this match. Now, when the show starts in the beginning, and I will say this, I know that sometimes they're trying to tighten their show up for time. If you're going to start with the Jurassic Express versus FTR, Jurassic Express should get their entrance. Don't have them already in the ring. This is the thing about Jurassic Express, and this is the reason why I look at them as a package, right? You got Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt. I know that I've always, I've always bemoaned here on these videos how much I don't like Marco Stunt being part of this group. There's a reason why. The reason why I don't like Marco Stunt being a part of that particular group is because of the fact that he actually takes away from Jungle Boy, believe it or not. Because Jungle Boy being the guy that's announced at 150, 160 pounds, yes, he's in great shape. He's a good-looking kid. And you got the big guy as his partner. The whole package of Jurassic Express is meant to feature Jungle Boy and get him over as a single when it's time to do it. Having Marco Stunt there is a detractor because whenever Marco gets into the ring, then if he tags in Jungle Boy, it looks like he tagged in Andre the Giant because Marco Stunt looks like a child. And he bows up and he does all this stupid stuff. So if it's just Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, that's great. Now, they don't get their entrance. FTR come, and then the Young Bucks come out to the ring and super kick Mike Posey. Not necessary. And then the Young Bucks come out and they take stacks of cash and throw it in Tony Khan's face. Tony Khan's the owner of this promotion. I know that it's in storyline, but do you think anybody in the WWE would do that to Vince McMahon?
Yes.
And so, meaning
we've seen it in storyline for it was like a 5-year thing.
With Steve Austin, but Steve Austin's your main event guy, and Vince McMahon was the television heel. Meaning, if Vince McMahon is not at that moment, not a character on the show, meaning that he's not involved in any storylines, as Tony Khan is not. They mention his name all the time, but whenever Tony Khan's on camera, he just.
This is actually his first time on camera.
It should, well, actually his second, but the first.
When else was he on camera?
He was on camera inadvertently when John Moxley cut that promo by the gorilla position. It wasn't meant for
Oh,
Tony.
it was inadvertent. Oh,
it was inadvertent. This was the first time it was probably done on purpose.
Yeah, this was on purpose. Yeah,
this was on purpose. Did I like it? No, because it's like, again, the Young Bucks come out and it's like, for that moment, they took center stage, so they super kicked Mike Posey, which I'm like, okay, you super kicked the referee, whatever. They throw stacks of cash in Tony Khan's face, and he sits there, looking like, oh my God, what's going on here? I'm like, could you at least stand up and say something to the Bucks, like,
well,
act like you're pissed
it would
off.
be realistic, because Tony Khan is an awkward guy in real life. He's a little uncomfortable. I don't think he changed his character.
No kidding. He certainly does look awkward. He certainly does.
Well, he is. He's an awkward individual. He's a little uncomfortable. He seems uncomfortable.
Yeah. I'm not even going to get into that tangent, because the thing is, I don't know the guy, and since he's not a television performer, I'm not going to critique him at all. FTR, then, who were heels, busted Young Bucks balls, who are also heels?
Well, we don't know yet. We don't know if the Young Bucks are heels. But I don't think just because the Young Bucks are turning heel, you forget the history with FTR. You just throw that on.
But it's all a matter that if FTR are the heels and they basically screwed over the Young Bucks by messing with Paige and then costing them their matches and all that stuff, you figure that the heat that the Young Bucks would have would not be taken out on referees and announcers, but it would be taken out on FTR.
Maybe it was.
That's fired up baby faces. Just saying. Anyway.
Well, yeah.
Anyway. The match, when FTR comes to the ring, they do their entrance. It's very old school. It's very different. This match was just an excellent start to the match. Because FTR, they start the match with Jungle Boy. And you know what they do? They shine them up like a brand new penny. They shine Jungle Boy. I mean, he was like the shiniest diamond over there at Daly's place by the time FTR was done shining him up in the beginning of the match. It was perfect. They tried out-wrestling Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy thwarts them, and he out-wrestles both of them. And then both heels take a powder to the floor. Perfect. You're establishing Jungle Boy as a somebody. I don't like the fact that the microphone caught Marco Stunt yelling at Tully Blanchard, "Hey, you better back up, old man." Somebody needs to tell Marco Stunt to just keep his mouth shut. You have nothing to do with this match. If Tully Blanchard would have walked over there and wanted to do something about it, I'd still put my money on Tully Blanchard kicking Marco Stunt's ass. Keep your mouth shut. Anyway, FTR, they're just excellent. They're obviously they're leading Jurassic Express through in this match, and they're leading, but they did a fantastic job. Jungle Boy showing a tremendous amount of heart as the babyface in peril, just tremendous amounts of heart. Kicking out of the moves, and again, there always has to be at least one time in the match where the babyface gets hit so hard with a double team move that the partner has to come in to save him, and Luchasaurus did not. Again, this is just one of those things where throughout the course of a tag team match, if you got a 2-on-1 situation for 5, 6, 7 minutes, whatever it might be, it's okay for the babyface partner to come in and help when his partner looks like he's going to get beat. It's okay to do it. You could do it at least once, and then do it. Let's see here. They're all. I said is like, notice how everyone looks amazing when they're all in the right place. Meaning this match, the way that it was settled, FTR healing, Jungle Boy being a babyface in peril, Luchasaurus being in the corner, getting punked out by the heels while he's watching his partner get his ass kicked. Everything was just perfectly put in place. It was just like, who the heels are. You feel something for the baby faces. You want Jungle Boy to get to the corner and tag the big man in. You want all that stuff. It's just like, then finally a proper hot tag. Finally, amen, glory to God, we got a proper hot tag. So Jungle Boy is able to get, I think it was Cash that he was able to knock down. Cash tags in Dax. Dax tries to go win. Jungle Boy goes around them, tags the big man in. FTR is trying to prevent the tag, and Jungle Boy had to fight for every inch to get to the corner and tag Luchasaurus. Perfect, brilliant. You know, Luchasaurus does a good big man comeback, meaning he's not trying to do too much. He does all the big man stuff. He muscles down both of the FTR guys, knocks them down, beats them up, smacks them up for a couple minutes. Yeah, he does. You know, he does the big choke slam and then the standing moonsault. I wish he wouldn't do the standing moonsault, but that's just something that he does. If that's the only flip or big whatever, I'll take it. You know, I'll just let it be because he beats nobody with it. They had plenty of near falls, which was cool. They didn't wear out their welcome. The only one note of critique that I had for Luchasaurus, because I know that FTR knocked him out to the floor, and the camera can literally see him. He's literally standing like this, looking up into the ring when it's his next spot. My dude, if you know that your spot is coming up and whatever, you have to sell. Meaning, lay out on the floor and have somebody, you know, even. I mean, shit, you got Marco Stunt out there. Marco could be able to give you the icky when it's time to get back in the ring because you were on the side of the ring with Marco. Have him be the one that's watching the match and then tell you, all right, big man, it's time to come in. But don't stand there and let the camera catch you watching the match while it's going on until it's your spot to come back in. Critique on Luchasaurus for that. The way that this match ended, it was a great sequence by, you know, Jungle Boy and FTR. It was basically kind of like a nice 2-1-1 dance. Luchasaurus then tries to, you know, take out, you know, one of the FTR guys. He flies out to the floor so that, you know, he flies out to the first row ringside, wiping out everybody there. That essentially eliminated him. That's the right thing to do. You eliminate the big man. And then FTR gets the assisted finish on Jungle Boy. They cheat. Perfect. Brilliant. It's brilliant. With the exception of Marco Stunt talking crap and Luchasaurus, you know, getting caught looking up, waiting for his spot, there was nothing poor to critique about this match. It was damn near perfect from bell to bell. Excellent. More of this, please. Okay. It was so much fun to watch. I really, really enjoyed it.
All right, we had the main event of NXT was Damian Priest versus Timothy Thatcher for the North American title. You know, I thought this was a nice, fun, good match, solid. You know, two really good guys. But my critique is, you know, Thatcher, the way, like, you see his rise, kind of, right, and he's just kind of killing it, you know, week in, week out. And I think he's like the perfect North American champion. If you ask me, so if he was a babyface and Priest was a heel, and you matched them up, you know, the way they're doing right now, very early, right? No story has kind of been told to get Thatcher to this point. He's just kind of, oh well, you're next. Come on, buddy, your turn. And which is fine. I kind of would have preferred if he was the babyface. Then yes, it makes perfect sense. You get him in there early. It might be too early for him to get this shot, but you know he gets close, and then, but you're kind of taking a look into the future. Maybe that's the guy that beats him, you know, in 3 months or in 6 months, and you come back to that matchup, and then he gets him back. But with kind of Priest being the babyface, I guess, because he's another one of those. I kind of don't see him as a babyface, even though I know he is. And Thatcher being the heel, you know, they have this matchup. It's competitive. It was really well done. But now Thatcher loses, and it's like, okay, I'm not necessarily supposed to root for Thatcher to come back and get him later on, even though that is what I want. I do want Thatcher to beat him for that title because, you know, I want to see him as the North American champ. Yeah, I just kind of don't know if this is how I would have went about it. I probably would have found a different path for him to finally get that shot, and when he got that shot, to take the damn title. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, this match has, I like this matchup. The thing about this match is, do I prefer if they would have been switched roles? The answer is no, because the thing about Timothy Thatcher, and again, this is what I wrote in my notes. Damian Priest looks like a rock star, and Timothy Thatcher looks like an angry gym teacher. Like, it's just a matter that if you switch the roles and you have Priest as the heel and Thatcher as the babyface, who do you think a crowd would be cheering for?
Well, I actually think if you take away their behavior and you only look at them or whatever, you see them, the things they've done in NXT, the matches they had. To me, Thatcher's more of a babyface. He's the tougher one. He's the grittier one. He's the more skilled one. He's the one who comes out with just plain tights. You know, he's the no-nonsense badass. If it wasn't for him kind of being a dick, you know, those few moments where, you know, we've seen him kind of sneak in a cheat, like, you know, here and there. Priest comes out. He's, you know, he's a tall guy, but, his clothes is a little bit fancy. He jumps in the pool with the girl, in the jacuzzi with the girls, and it's like he's kind of full of shit.
What do you think? But think about it. Who do you think that an audience would be cheering?
I
Priest. They'd
I
probably
don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I think he comes off as a little bit of a douche.
It's a matter of the presentation. He comes across looking like a rock star. Timothy Thatcher is a tremendous talent. I can't say enough good things about Timothy Thatcher. I just think he's fantastic. From his wrestling, which has no daylight, to his selling, which is actually really good. I think, I don't think it's spoken about enough that he actually sells really well. And again, I wrote, there's no daylight in Thatcher's wrestling. When he gets a hold on you, he gets a hold. Even if he knows he's got to let it go, he'll grab that hold and he'll French it in. In the beginning, Damian Priest was basically forced to work Thatcher's style. He was having to chain wrestle against Thatcher. And even though Damian Priest held his own against Thatcher, but he was clearly a class below, even though he was doing his best to stay with him. Priest hurts his right arm. He takes a dive. I think he hurt. He either missed a spot or he probably punched Thatcher and he was selling his right arm. The double underhook suplex to the floor by Thatcher. That was stiff. That hurts. I love Thatcher when he throws those knees, man. Those knees look stiff, even though I know he's working them, but man, they look like he can hurt anybody with those. This was one thing that was a little bit inconsistent. When Thatcher started working on Damian Priest's arm, he was working on the left. And I know that in American catch wrestling, you work to the left, but Priest hurt his right arm. So you have to stay consistent to the story that they're telling in the ring. So I saw that, and that was bad. Then Damian Priest was selling his side, very nice. When the thing is that when Thatcher slapped Priest, like he usually does those slaps to take him down, instead of taking Priest down, it fired him up. That was good. Priest, that's the beginning of his comeback. Then basically we switched styles. So now they're going to the striking game, and Damian Priest is clearly the aggressor and clearly the guy with the advantage in that. And Thatcher, the way that Thatcher sold when he got hit with the leg strike, and he looks like he just crumples up like an accordion. He just crumpled up. It's like, I love that. It's so good when he sells that. So good. Thatcher, when he hit the Fujiwara armbar, Priest finds the ropes. Perfect. That was very well done. There's no way that Damian Priest should get in a chokeslam on Thatcher literally mere moments after having his arm being in a submission. He just shouldn't be doing it. And I think that when Thatcher hit the Fujiwara, he was doing it on his right arm. I don't think it was on his left. So again, mere moments after, Damian Priest hits him with a chokeslam. Completely stupid. You gotta find another power move to do. Whether it's suplex, body slam, backdrop, whatever. Do something else. Chokeslam, no good. Then Priest hits multiple strikes, hits him with his finish, 1, 2, 3. Listen, it was a good, fun match. It was. I enjoyed it. Can I watch those two guys work again? Hell yeah. I love watching another match with those two. Now, I do agree with you. I would like to see, and again, this is where, if NXT does a good enough job of making Finn Balor a heel, a full-fledged heel, I would be okay with Damian Priest being the guy chasing the NXT championship as a babyface, chasing him for the title, and having Thatcher as the North American champion, saying this is the wrestler's title. And then you start telling other stories underneath. So yes, I do agree with you. I think that it would be better to have Thatcher as the North American champion in the future. But the way to do that is Priest has to get elevated up. And you gotta establish Finn Balor first. Get him established as a heel first, so that you can then establish Damian Priest as a potential challenger, as a babyface, and make it work.
Like and subscribe, everyone.